Michel Barnier has a meltdown as he personally attacks David Frost, the migrant boats are still coming in from France, and Keir Starmer has a bit of a malfunction during the Prime Minister's question. Well, hello, welcome to today's daily vlog. We have a lot to cover today, so make sure to watch the whole video. We're going to start from the Brexit trade talks because it's all kicking off. David Frost has been very strong for the UK side as a chief negotiator, and Michel Barnier is slightly losing his patience. So if you guys remember, yesterday David Frost wrote a strong letter exposing the EU's flip-flopping on these negotiations. Michel Barnier has now written a letter in return saying that to David Frost, I don't like your tone. In particular, I would not like the tone that you have taken to impact the mutual trust and constructive attitude that is essential between us. So he's kind of kicked off. And the funny thing about this whole thing is that he's now saying that, it is the UK government's fault and David Frost has been really mean to me and his language is kind of aggressive. Okay, let's go back to the things that Michel Barnier himself has said. He said once that he blamed Brexit on nostalgia for the past. Okay, this is an interesting language. And he also said once that he accused Nigel Farage and Brexiteers of trying to destroy the EU. Okay, if that's not aggressive, I don't know what is. I mean, firstly, it's not the first time that the European Union officials have used aggressive language against us. So it's a it's a massive hypocrisy that he's saying that David Frost is being aggressive. How? He's just saying that once you claimed that you wanted a normal free trade agreement and now you changed your mind. Once you said that you want a Canada-style trade agreement, now you said no. He just exposed your flip-flopping situation. Didn't say anything bad. Right, as we walk around my favorite spot in Hyde Park, let's actually talk about the other issues that the European Union have and they're not really addressing. What's happening between France and the UK? The Dover situation with the migrant boats, because Nigel Farage has been reporting from Dover for the past week or so. The illegal migrant boats are still coming in, and the French boats, the French Navy are actually escorting these migrant boats towards the UK border and just leave them be. It's a weird situation. So this is the actual evidence that we have that the French Navy are escorting the boats towards the UK side and then actually returning. And there's no one's doing anything about this at this moment. The border force from the UK side are just taking the boats in, and there are a lot of questions that we need to ask. Firstly, is Priti Patel aware of what the border force are doing? Has this collaboration been given ministerial approval? Is the French Navy not in breach of EU directives or the actual law? And is this the official or unofficial policy of the French government? This is a question actually asked by Guido Fawkes. Right, I've come to sit down in the shade for a bit because it's way too sunny and I'm already tanned naturally. I don't want to get more tan than this. So on this issue, if you have not seen the 5:45 video that I posted, the news show, I interviewed Annunciata Rees-Mogg, who was a former Brexit MEP, then defected to the Conservatives just before the actual Brexit date, and so she talked about what's happening in Dover and between the French authorities and the UK border force. So make sure to watch that video to kind of see what she has to say. But again, the issue goes back to the lack of opposition in Parliament. UK government, the Labour Party is supposed to be the party of opposition. They're supposed to be there to scrutinise the government. Well, one, they're incompetent, they can't do that. Two, I don't think they really care about what's happening in Dover. Third, their new leader is Keir Starmer, who's a bit of a robot, and he actually kind of malfunctioned during the Prime Minister's questions yesterday. He asked a question about kind of how ready the government is, especially when it comes to trace and track with the lockdown, and Boris Johnson said 1st of June, and then Keir Starmer stood up and ask the same question again.
And I have great confidence that by June the 1st we will have a system that will enable us, or will help us very greatly to defeat this disease and move the country forward. And I hope therefore that he will abandon his slightly negative tone and support it.
This is the last PMQs for 2 weeks. Can the Prime Minister indicate that an effective test, trace and isolate system will be in place by the 1st of June, Monday week?
Prime Minister.
The right honourable gentleman seems to be in the unhappy position of having rehearsed his third or fourth question without having listened to my previous answer. I've a brilliant forensic mind there who doubtless is. What he has heard is that we have a growing confidence that we will have a test, track and trace operation that will be world-beating, and yes, it will be in place. It will be in place by June the 1st. And just to repeat the figure, since he's invited me to do so.
I mean, I don't know if I should feel sorry for Keir Starmer at this point, but Boris Johnson was on good form yesterday, unlike last week. And Keir Starmer showed that, you know, he's not really forensic, is he? He's not the man of detail. He's I don't know. He pretends to be. He acts as if the House of Commons is like courtroom, but he doesn't actually know how to perform the way he should do. And even on Twitter, the commentators reacted to what happened yesterday. So we had Andrew Neil saying, it was interesting though that when Mr. Johnson pushed back, Mr. Starmer had trouble thinking on his feet. Stephen Pollard said, it's the first time that I've seen Starmer bested. Johnson seemed to have prepared and got the tone right. And Dan Hodges said, I love the stormtroopers, almost as much as the Corbynites. I've said every week up until now how impressive Starmer is and how he's had Boris on the ropes. Boris clearly won this week, but point that out and you're a Tory stooge. Now that reminds me, you know how over the last few weeks we've been talking about Piers Morgan on Good Morning Britain, how terrible he's been and how irrational he's been. And also we've talked about Sadiq Khan as Mayor of London. So combine these two, we actually have a very interesting combination because Piers Morgan interviewed Sadiq Khan, and for once he truly scrutinized Sadiq Khan. So I'm going to show you this video, but before I actually do this, I'm kind of hungry and I've just finished obviously interviewing Annunziata, so I don't really have time, so I'm going to have a very late lunch / early dinner, and then we're going to continue. So today we don't actually have time to go through the whole cooking process, so instead what I'm going to do is a bit of magic. There we go. So, okay, this is just one portion. The rest of it is actually in there. So let's continue.
So who actually set the £15 figure? Who set the extended hours at night, and who made it 7 days a week? The government or you?
Well, the government says we've got to widen the scope.
No, I'm just asking who made those decisions on pricing and hours and days.
Sure, it's TfL, it's us, but
It's you.
But by widen the scope, they don't mean reduce the hours.
Yeah, and it seems to me like what you're doing is passing the buck, as you do so often, Mr. Mayor. The reality is you set the pricing for this congestion charge. You decided to make it go to 10 o'clock at night. You decided to run it over weekends.
Right, I'm back in the park now. And so, yeah, you saw that video. Firstly, well done, Piers Morgan. I always say we have to be objective when it comes to politicians. The same applies to journalists. So when Piers Morgan does something good, we say he did something good. If he says something stupid, then we have to kind of call him out. But there are some people who are insufferable. The so-called kind of posh, kind of middle-class, celebrity, left-wing Ramoni type. We're running out of words now. So we have Steve Coogan, people like him who tell other people how to live their lives, and they have a comfortable life themselves. So during this lockdown, the millionaire Steve Coogan has furloughed his gardener and housekeeper. Firstly, it's a massive estate. It's like a mansion, basically. And his gardener, why? It's basically just free money. It's not like, you know, he's at any risk of getting infected or spreading anything. He's just, you know, doing his job in a garden. Stupid. And this is the same guy who's, you know, good friends with Jeremy Corbyn. So the hypocrisy of the left comes out again. Now the problem is, someone like Steve Coogan still knows what he's doing. His other friend, Hugh Grant, is slightly losing it.
If your birthday is a special birthday, why not celebrate in style with Buchanan's special chunky cut marmalade? More taste, more goodness, more, dare one say, class. How was that, darling? Was it good? Should we go again? Bit messy?
Yeah, it's not really looking good for these Romani Lib Dem types like Hugh Grant. And speaking of the Lib Dems, apparently they're having the election, the leadership election. Again, I didn't even know that was happening. I didn't even know they didn't have a leader. Completely forgot about them. But yeah, so they have a leadership election coming up in a couple of months. So embrace yourselves, the Liberal Democrats are coming back. Right, we have more things to cover in the next few days. Obviously we have a daily news show at 5:45 p.m. and a daily vlog at 8 p.m. So if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell next to it so you get notified. Also, if you want to support the channel, check out the link in the description. You could actually become a member. My name is Tousi, and I'll say goodbye to you all from Hyde Park.